You are welcome to this week's edition of the Learning Lunch. Today, I have a very special guest uh, with us today. He's very special because he's been my childhood friend. We went to secondary school together, and he is a very great personality. He's a great person, and he's here to talk about his career journey. And today, we're looking at the world of uh, QS, which is quantity surveying, and we have somebody who has proven himself in that area today. Akin Elejogun is a chartered quantity surveyor and an approved assessor of the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors with an outstanding track record of performance. He has always had a passion for quantity surveying from a young age. This was attributed to the fact that his father was also a quantity surveyor, and at a very early age, he would always, follow his father to his office. Aki has achieved great things in his field. He is a fellow of the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors. He's also a fellow of the Quantity Surveyors International, that is FQSI. He's also a member of the Nigerian Institute of Quantity Surveyors and also member Chartered Institute of Arbitrators. Um, he's also an approved RICS APC assessor. That is approved assessor. Aki is a man who loves knowledge. He's a man who believes in excellence and believes in going all the way. If you want to follow a path, he's someone who believes that you be the best in it, go all the way with it. And so he has a master's and MSc degree in management in construction and construction law, and he also has an LLM, a law degree in construction law and arbitration, construction arbitration. These are all the things that he has achieved. He has so many medals to his name. So today we have the very pleasure of having Aki in the midst of us today to talk to us about the world of quantity surveying. So Aki, I will hand over to you now.
Good evening, all, and good evening, Bumi. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present or to talk about my profession to you guys, the students. As Bumi has said, my name is Akin Elejogun. I've been in the quantity surveying profession, or I've been working as a quantity surveyor in the UK, let me rephrase it, for 24 years plus. Quantity surveying is a profession where you work in the construction industry. But as we go on in years, the profession has changed a bit, and we now work in the built environment. So you don't just only see us on the construction site, but you see us in the aviation sector, nuclear sector, highways, name it. You'll see a quantity surveyor, or sometimes they don't call us quantity surveyor, they call us commercial manager or procurement manager. All these people have gained experience as a quantity surveyor. My career, I've been able to work within the social housing sector, which is working for people like Peabody or Cycle 33 or Hyde Housing Association. I've had the opportunity as well to work on the rail sector. I was with Network Rail for over 5 years. After Network Rail, I did work with London Underground briefly on interesting projects. Then I've done some highway maintenance. I was working with Transport for London, where I was maintaining all the red routes within London. Then I worked for BT on a maintenance contract with Southampton Local Authority. Also, and finally, I did work within the aviation sector for BA, and I did the baggage handling project with BA and Gatwick Airport and Heathrow Airport. And today, my career, I've had the opportunity to move away from the UK, and I'm now working in an oil and gas sector. I'm working currently for one of the largest oil and gas firms in the world, which is Saudi Aramco, and I've been with them for over 7 years now. How I got here, Bumi did mention this briefly. My dad was a quantity surveyor, and from a young age, I've shown interest in the profession. So in those days, he used to have what they call bills of quantities. This is the pricing document, or the QS document, where you have all the prices for the documents. And in those days, there wasn't any technology. So you have to check all these things manually with a calculator, go through each of the line items to make sure there's no arithmetic error in there. So since I've been in secondary school, I then realized that, to be a quantity surveyor, I should be good in maths. So whilst in secondary school, I did pay attention to maths. I was lucky to also be in a school because I did my secondary education in Nigeria. In the school I went to, we had the opportunity to take technical drawing as a subject. Technical drawing nowadays, I think they call it product design. So with that technical drawing, you look at drawings, you draw elevation sections. So I had an understanding of construction and building. Then I also took economics as well. So I came to the UK in my late teens. I finished my O-levels in Nigeria. When I got to the UK, I didn't enroll for my A-levels. So what I did, I went to London Southbank University and enrolled as a matured student. Then I was 21. So they took me on the course. So I had to do what is called a foundation because I didn't have my A-levels. The foundation course was for 1 year. And some of the modules I did was architecture, pure maths or mathematics, building science, and some other subjects that I can't remember now. That was for 1 year. I passed that course. Then I had to submit my UCAS form and put the same university in there, and I was enrolled. I got admission into the BSc Quantity Surveying. The course was for a duration of 3 years full time, but some guys had the option to study as a sandwich course, i.e. after 2 years, you go and work in the industry. But I did mine straight through. As I said, I've spoken about what's on this slide. One thing about QS is that it's not an office-based job. It's not a profession that you have to be in the office 5 days a week, 9 to 5. You have the opportunity to go on to the site, to visit the construction site. And even though if it's not a new build, that is a road work, they're doing road maintenance, you have the opportunity to go and see the work that's being done, because you have to value, QSs, we deal with money. So before you pay the contractor for a work done, you have to go and ascertain that the work has been done. And also apart from that, you also deal with some legal issues because, as I said, we are called the accountants in the construction industry. Also, any legal issues about the contract, what the contractor's obligations are, we as the QS, we deal with it. We deal with it. Oh. Yeah. So, as I said, QSing, we make the difference. So you work on different, an advantage again is that being a QS, you would have worked on so many projects. So let's say you're going out with your family on one day, you're driving by, you can say, oh, I did work on this project, I did work on this project. It's physical things you see that people see, and you can mention that, oh, I was involved in this project, I was involved in that project. The profession also, in my opinion, I think the salary is good. Not, I don't want to use the word generous. The average salary for a newly qualified quantity surveyor in the UK ranges between 25 and 35K. The next one about variety, I've said it, that it's not an office-based job. You have the opportunity to travel. And after graduating, to be on top of your game, I will recommend that you become a professional member of the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyor. This body is globally known, it's worldwide. So once you get that mark, you're on top of your game. And I will tell you how you could get there, how you can gain your professional qualification. So as I said, I want to talk about my journey, although I've mentioned this briefly previously. I had only 5 O-levels credit when I came into the when I started my journey. So after my O-levels, I didn't go directly to university, and I was just at home or doing some stuff trying to get into the university. Then I enrolled on the foundation course, which I told you, which I mentioned previously at London South Bank University. I passed that, and I was enrolled on the undergraduate course, which was for 3 years. After graduation, I got a job, and the first thing I told my employer was that I want to be a chartered quantity surveyor. So the RICS, they have a route. It's called APC, Assessment for Professional Competence. In my days, we need to keep a daily diary. You write what you're doing in the office day by day. I kept that diary for 3 years. Then I have to write a report on a project. And after that, I submitted it to the RICS, and I sat for my APC. So I sat for the interview. The interview is for about an hour. I passed the interview, and I became a chartered quantity surveyor. And then I was able to use the abbreviation MRICS. Then later on, I went for my fellowship. QSing, when you finish this profession, if you have the time, it's good to also improve your knowledge. So after a few years working in the industry, I decided to go for a master's degree. So I went for my part-time master's degree at Kingston University, and I got my MSc Construction Management and Construction Law. That was after about 5 years of graduation. And some 5 years ago now, I did enroll for an online course at Robert Gordon University, and for my LLM, Construction Law and Adjudication. So that's my journey. As I said, to become a chartered quantity surveyor, there are various routes into the career. After your A-levels or O-levels, you can go via the apprentice route, where you find an employer that will train you, and you have like a day release. You go to university 1 day a week or 2 evenings in a week, and at the same time, you're learning the trade. Because QSing is not all about theory. It's more like a hands-on profession. It's practical. So there are things you pick up in the office, and there are things you learn whilst in university. So I will advise, or if anyone can go into the university directly after their A-levels, to consider this apprenticeship route. Then you can go to the university if you have your A-levels, university, or there are some people that also come into the profession that their first degree is like BSc Economics, and they do a conversion course to study quantity surveying, MSc quantity surveying. Then the professional course that I've mentioned with the RICS. Apart from the RICS, there are other professional bodies, but the RICS is the most recognized one. You have the CIOB, Chartered Institute of Building. Then you have the Quantity Surveyor International, but I recommend the RICS as the cream, as the best. Types of employers. QSing, you can work with different types of employers. You have the client organization, and I would like to elaborate on that. Because with the QS, I said where we look after the money in the construction industry and the construction and the legal document. So it's either you work on the client side or you're on the contractor side. But as a QS, you have to be neutral in the decision you make. On the client side, we have what we call PQS, Private Quantity Surveying Practice. The PQSs, you see, firms like Turner and Townsend, Ryder Levitt Bennett, David Landon's, those are a few. In the public sector, it's like you're working with local authorities, because all local authorities, they used to have their built environment section, that they have their quantity surveying group or their construction group. So you can either be in that sector with that employer. Then you have the contracting group, working for a main contractor, a subcontractor. Contractors like Amy, Baco BT, to name a few, Carillion, I think Carillion's gone bust now. Then you have the consultancy practice as well. What do you do in a typical day as a quantity surveyor? There's so many things, so many tasks you're going to do. But when you start with the profession, there's only going to be this minor bit that they will be giving you to do. And the role of the QS splits into two. We have what we call pre-contract and post-contract. Pre-contract is prior to the contract being signed, and post-contract is once the contract has been signed and is the administration. So you prepare the tender documents. What I call the tender documents, that a client wants to build a house. So you have to give the contractors something for them to submit their price. And you have to give this to about 5 contractors, because you want to get prices from different contractors. So that document you prepare to give to the contractors is called a tender document. Sometimes it takes about 3 weeks, 4 weeks to prepare this tender document. This also includes the bills of quantities, which is the pricing document. Your typical day might be to prepare an estimate. What's an estimate? When a client comes to you saying that, oh, I want to build an hotel block here, as a quantity surveyor, even before they start any design, we have to give the client an estimate telling him this hotel you want to build, which is a 50-room hotel in London, is going to cost you X amount. So you have to have a detailed price of how you've arrived at that cost that you've given the client. You attend meetings, and you have to be able to pay attention to details. So you take note, you listen to others, so you should be a very good listener. You visit sites, so when the work is done, you go onto the site to measure to see what's been done. Problem solving, when there's an issue with the construction, you with the other design team members, the engineer, the architect, you all sit down together and try and find a solution. Negotiation, I told you that we deal with money, so you should know how to negotiate. And finally, writing. You should be a good communicator, both in writing and verbally. To develop your skills, I'll say QSing is not, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to be a QS. So you have to have good analytical skills, not very good in, I wouldn't say mathematics now, I would narrow it down to arithmetic. You have to be able to add and subtract. Your basic maths, like finding an area of a triangle, all these sort of things, or area of a circle, you should be able to do that. because you prepare bills of quantities. I've mentioned the bit about writing skills because it involves writing letters to contractors, to clients. You have to listen to others. You have to be able to sit down and let someone talk and try and reason why someone is saying X. Commercially aware, I've mentioned that you deal with the money, so you have to always protect the client's money, protect money because you are the accountant of the construction industry. Negotiation. Also, always make sure that your clients or your organization always gets value for money. You negotiate, you haggle. Someone tells you something is going to cost £100,000, you challenge. Why is it £100,000? Give me the data, how you've arrived at this, and you negotiate with them. Communication skills. I said you have to be able to write. Technical skills, read drawings. You have to do things in an accurate way because being a quantity surveyor will deal with money. So when you're preparing this bill of quantities, you should make sure that there are no arithmetic errors because once the contract is signed and you're saying it's X amount, you can't then go back and say, you're sorry, it's not X amount, it's now Y. Critical thinking, relationship building, very important. What advice will I give people that wants to join, that wants to become a quantity surveyor? You have to be reliable. You have to be trustworthy. Because you're dealing with money now. You have to be trustworthy. Good timekeeping is important. When you need to prepare a document, it has to be prepared on time and submitted on time. Construction project has to be completed on time because there are so many things that is tied into that. Assuming that there's a construction project building an hotel block and it's meant to be completed in January and it's delayed till June, the client's gone out to borrow money from the bank, is paying interest on this, and is not getting income. So timekeeping is important. Again, listen carefully, be good with figures. I've said that, you should be able to, you should be a good negotiator. That's it for me. If you've got any questions you want to ask, you can always get my email address from Bumi, and you can drop me an email and I'll answer your questions. But so far that I've been in the profession, even during the recession, the latest recession we had in the 90s, I've been lucky. I was injured. I was out of job for about 6 weeks max, and I got back into the profession because being a QS, apart from doing pure QSing, you could specialize in the legal aspect of things to be an adjudicator or an arbitrator. You can specialize in procurement. Every organization, big organization, has a procurement department. Procurement in layman's term is buying and selling. You're buying goods for the organization. So we QSs, we do this. Preparing tender documents, you want to buy something. Because this is a business and it involves a lot of money, you have to have it documented. So this is why we say tender document. So you're telling this contractor, I want you to build me X, Y, Z. So you put everything down in writing. So there's no ambiguity that he said, I said, or I thought this was what you meant. So that's why we prepare the tender document. So you can work, and also, as I said earlier, you can work in any sector. Rail, aviation, oil and gas, name it, they all have quantity surveyors. Even sometimes they don't call them quantity surveyors. You might hear the word cost manager, cost engineer, procurement manager, commercial manager, we're all contracts manager. The training we all have is the QSing training. That is the foundation. And from there, you can go anywhere you want. Thank you very much.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Akin. It's so wonderful to learn, about the world of QS. Your experience, has really, I'm sure, has really enlightened somebody, uh, and it really, really enlightened me a lot. You studied law. You had a master, an LM law in arbitration, in construction arbitration. How does that relate to your profession? And what is the arbitration all about? I would like you to expand a bit more on that.
Okay, I like okay. I said earlier that QS, as a QS, you deal with figures and you deal with all the legal issues in the construction industry. So when you want to build a house and they employ a QS, you have a tender document. It's an offer and acceptance. You tell, and you have what is called, so you tell a contractor, I want you to do X, Y, Z. You give him the document and you have to do it within this period. The contractor has its obligations. So the contractor might want to come back to you telling you that, oh, this thing is no more £1, it's £5. So that's where the legal issue comes in. When the contractor is delayed, you need to, because we have what we call the forms of contracts, and I don't want to go too much in detail. You have like the JCT, the NEC form of contract. So these are bespoke contracts for different clients. So when the contractor or someone is not doing something as said in that document, you as the QS have to write to him. And another thing is that cash flow is the lifeblood of the construction industry or of any industry. And the government, the British government, they knew how important construction industry is to the economy. And they know that some clients were just withholding contractors' payment, not paying. So there's something that is implied in every construction contract in the UK that when they say disputes between a contractor and a client, the contractor or the client could refer this to adjudication or for mediation, which is an alternate dispute resolution, rather than going to court. So before you go to court, you have to have this alternative dispute resolution. So that's why I did my LLM law. I'm not a barrister, so that gives me a more in-depth knowledge into construction law.
That's good. That's fantastic. That's brilliant. Thank you very much. That's very good to know. In your profession, what would you say uh, has been some of your worst part of what has been some of the worst part of your job, really? The worst part of your job, in a way. What are those things?
Ah,
And the challenges of
yeah,
your job.
you have challenges, especially when you're new to the profession, when you're new. So when you're learning, let's say you prepare an estimate. Estimate is like a forecast. You're telling someone something will cost £100,000, and you go out to tender, and it then costs £120,000. You have to be able to justify. It leaves a sour taste in your mouth. So you have to be able to say, oh, it's because of X, Y, Z. You have to give a reason why that has happened. So with QSCs, we always like to be within the margin. And because construction is always different, if you go from this side to another side, what you did on a site, if you try and replicate it on another site, things can be different because we're exposed to weather. So maybe the project is being delayed. There's a cost overrun, those sort of things.
Thank you very much. That's
Because
quite interesting.
it is not like manufacturing that you get, manufacturing
Yeah.
is done in-house under a
Yes.
controlled condition.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
if you're manufacturing a TV, yes, you know the TV when you take it there, it's going to work. But with buildings, because it's exposed, when you then get into the property, there might be a leaking, water leaking from somewhere, doors not closing properly, those sort of things.
Quite interesting. So anyway, you've just shared about the worst part of your job, the challenges that you face. But exactly what could you please share with us some of the amazing things about your job, that you really enjoy, that really, intrigue you?
As I said in the beginning of this slide, when you, after some years, let's say you work in social housing or you work for the highways agency and you're driving, you're going around, you've got friends in the car. Oh, that project, I worked on that project. That road, I did that. So there is always that thing that you see
Yeah.
things you've worked on. And it's it makes you happy that you've contributed towards the built environment. Because construction is part of the built environment that you've contributed towards it. And now that we're now building sustainability, so you're now trying to make improvements to be more green, to be less wasteful, innovation, all those sort of things.
That's good. Well done. That's fantastic. That's interesting. And so, if you were to advise our student now, maybe someone who's interested in the world of QS and maybe thinking about it, what would you advise them to start doing now? What should they try and do now in order to build their skills? What should they be doing now in order to start building those skills? What do you think they should be doing now?
Okay, maths and English is always necessary, but they have to be commercially aware. Like, read, listen to the news. I would say listen to the news. What's going in the economy? Because QS, I talk about finance, is
Yeah,
is what's happening around you.
true.
You have to pay attention to what's happening around you. Is interest rate going up? What's the government doing? Is government pumping money into this sector, into that sector? No, they have to put their ears on the ground and listen what's going on around them. And they also have to be more technical. And one good thing about the profession, again, of construction is that whenever you're going around, you're walking to school, you always see a construction project, something going on. So just once in a while, when you're walking around, just look. If you see people on the side, just ask them a few questions, if you could. Yeah, ask a few questions. What's this?
That's
What's that you're doing? Because the job is hands-on, it's practical. So you see things rather than it being theory only. So once you see things being done, when you get into class, you'll be able to apply it.
That's good. Thank you very much. I always tell even my students, when we're talking about business or we're talking about economics, I always tell them, that there's a need for you to be aware of what's happening, in your environment, economic wise, and listen to news, all of those things. You need to be aware because it's applied. Just like you said, business also applied in that regard. So I think it's an advice that I will really, really want to stretch, for young people. A lot of young people don't, it's not their interest. They're more into social medias and things like that. But if you want to pursue a career in certain places, you need to actually start, get into the habit of knowing what's happening around you, which is very good. Thank you very much for that. And lastly, what advice would you offer to someone who is just starting in your industry? What advice would you offer such person?
I will tell that person to try and work towards the professional qualification, the accreditation of the RICS. Or having your BSc or HNC, whatever, is the first step to be recognized and to be able to work internationally. You have to be a chartered quantity surveyor. So once they get into the job, the learning continues, but it's just that now it's office based. So they should make sure that they do jobs that will be recognized by the RICS, and they then go and sit for their professional exams, professional interview. It's an interview, yeah, professional interview.
So I just picked something from what you just said. You said that they should do a work that will be recognized. What sort of work would that be?
Okay, I think I need to rephrase it. There are some employers that are accredited by the RICS. So most of these big firms and big construction firms are recognized. They have a APC route. They have a route that when they bring these graduates in or these students in, they have a structured training program that first 3 months you do this, next 3 months, they move them around the organization and they gain experience. It's called a structured training program. So they are on a structured training program, which they're trying to get them to learn everything and go for the interview. So most employers have a structured training program, but a few employers don't. But that doesn't still mean you can't be a qualified quantity surveyor. You can work in an organization that doesn't have a structured training program, and you still do your day-to-day recording for your RICS, and you go and sit for your professional exams.
Okay, thank you very much. Oh wow, it's been a pleasure having you today with us today. Learning so much about the world of QS. I'm really really grateful. One of the things also that we want for our student also is a program we're looking towards starting towards next year is having mentors, for these young people, and I hope that in future we will be able to connect with you and maybe be a mentor, even if it's virtual wise, to mentor one or two of them, to kind of guide them, and that will be really cherished by us.
Okay,
So
I'll be happy to do that.
that's fantastic. That's brilliant. It's thank you so much, everyone. It's been so good today, and I want to believe that you've learned so much from Akin Elejogun today. He's a professional, a seasoned professional, highly qualified quantity surveyor, and is a fellow of so many institutes in the body, and he has shared his experience with you. So whatever your dreams are, keep, you know, chasing after your dreams and make sure nothing stops you. I always say you are the only one that can stop yourself. No one can stop you, and you can see even the pathway that he started. Um, you don't have, nothing stops you. He was resilient even with his uh, O-level qualifications, but now he is, he is one of the most qualified person in the field, and so it means there's nothing can stop you. There's nothing you cannot achieve if you put your mind towards it. Yes, there will be hard work, real hard work, and he has put in the hard work there, but there's always a reward at the end of the day, and I'm very sure even where he's working now, there's a high reward there now. Being at the top of his game now, he's been highly rewarded in where he is today. So thank you so much, Akin. And I want to wish every one of you the very best in everything you do. So I will say, see you until next session. Have a good time. Cheers.
Thank you.